Підписникам Mercado медіа в цей час воно нам дуже необхідно.
Дякуємо глядачам каналу Mercado Media за збір на цю автівку. Слава ЗСУ!
Слава Україні! Я головний сержант 2-ї саперної інженерної роти 33-го окремого інженерного батальйону. Хочу висловити подяку Mercado та його підписникам за таку чудову машину. Ця машина нас приведе ближче до перемоги. Победа за нами, слава Україні!
Hi guys, today I want to appreciate the Mercado media, all the friends and subscribers, and the Navy community for this wonderful pickup truck. Слава Україні!
Героям слава! Всім привіт! Я Вадим, позивний режисер, 42-га окрема механізована бригада. Ми зараз ведемо бої на Харківщині. Дякую Mercado Media і всім підписникам його каналу за придбаний автомобіль. Він дозволить нам ефективно і успішно виконувати бойові завдання на Харківщині. Я сподіваюся, що цей автомобіль дозволить швидше здобути нашу перемогу. Слава Україні!
I want to give a big thank you to Mercado Media and Johnny FD, two close friends who have helped me create this fundraiser between ourselves to help raise funds for what is needed essentially on the front line. I also want to give a big thank you to both Mercado Media and Johnny FD's followers for helping us achieve this goal of funding the first car for our fundraiser. The car is going to be put to good use on the front lines in aiding us with helping to carry out our mission and also helping us to clear Ukraine of the invader. Slava Ukraini.
Thank you, Mercado Media, Johnny FD, Kostak Gundi, and all your subscribers for the generous donation of this van. It will help us with our logistics in the International Legion.
Dear friends of NAFO, my name is Pete, hasta la vista, from Project Constantine. This beautiful beast was donated to the brigade that we're friendly with in the forest, 67 Brigade. 69th Infantry Brigade donated to 67. It's pretty cool. I keep bumping into this vehicle in the forest. We never have time. We never have time to actually make any videos or get inside your vehicle and do any missions with it because we're like passing ships in the night here. But Mercado Media, Andrew, you NAFO supporters, it's beautiful to see this grand vehicle that you've got for this brigade because it's a reliable vehicle and I've never seen it anywhere other than in the forest. I've never seen it in the garage. And yes to that, and all Ukrainians must live. Bakhmut is Ukraine. This forest is Ukraine. And Mercado Media and NAFO, you guys are here supporting us, man, and we freaking love you to pieces. Thank you for what you're doing for the soldiers of Ukraine. God bless you. To victory. Do перемоги.
How are we doing, everybody? How are we doing? Welcome back to another breaking news update. I haven't seen you guys in a while because I was on my little vacation, but there's Russia's losses as of July 7th. Before we get into some of the local news here in the United States, what's going on down in Texas, there's Russia's losses. You got over 1 million, right? 1,100 losses over the past 24 hours. 7 AFVs, 118 vehicles and fuel tanks, 3 tanks, 33 artillery systems, 233 UAVs, 2 multiple launch rocket systems, 2 special equipment, and that is the Russian losses as of July 7th, as of today. And that's where we're at overall. How was everybody's 4th of July? I got way too red. I got way too freaking red out there. And I don't know how to vacation. I haven't done it in so long, but I got still red. I didn't wear enough sunscreen, and I will never do that again. That was a terrible, terrible, terrible mistake that, that just can't be made. Gotta wear sunscreen. But I felt good. It was a good vacation. Got to hang out with my grandpa. Had a lot of cool family vibes. We didn't really celebrate America or anything. That's cringe. We just hung out and just did yard games, and we grilled and went out on the boat, and it was a good little vacation. So I didn't go anywhere. People have been asking, did I quit? Did I quit? Am I done? We miss you. I missed you guys too, but I needed a little break. I took a lot of May off, and then this was just a little vacation thing. I'm not going anywhere. If there's current events or breaking news, we're on it. And there was breaking news and current events while I was gone, and things were happening. But there's just not enough connection up there, and there was a lot of people, so the bandwidth was not the best. So I don't think I could have gotten a stream anyways. But I'm glad I got a little mini vacation and some days away. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, you guys. Thank you to all the support and everyone for doing that. I feel your pain. Even sunscreen only does me so good. No, I didn't put any. I put a little layer on. I sprayed myself, and that was it. But I like a pork rind. It's bad. It hurts so bad. Today's the first day where it's definitely there still. But like it still hurts. All right, I'm not doing that again. If I go on the vacation, I'm gonna make sure I bring my own sunscreen and not be out in the sun, just raw like I was. We got floods in Texas though, guys. We cover everything I do on the channel besides breaking news. I don't know if I can't make it to Texas yet. The good news is because of the outpouring of support and to the channel during June, my goodness, at the end of July here, and my birthday is coming up too in a little over a week, I'll be able to travel and go around and cover some of this stuff, especially during severe weather season. And I think a lot of people are going to be interested because a lot of the funding to help respond to these on a national level has been cut. And that this was the big concern that we talked about prior to a lot of the breaking news that's been just flooding in. And I do just kind of talk and chat sometimes, and we were reviewing a lot of the cuts Doge was making, and a lot of it has to do with like the National Weather Service, unfortunately, and like and things that just keep just like government entities that you don't even think about like that, right? How often do you think about the National Weather Service? Oh, unless there's like a severe weather situation like this. And that's the type of stuff that Doge and the Trump administration have been defunding, like stupid things, right? Even the people that want cuts like on a severe level that support MAGA, I guess. I don't know if you'd want cuts to stupid things like this, like the National Weather Service, right? I mean, I don't think flooding or severe weather is biased, and I don't think it chooses what political side, right? It's like kind of wipes out whole towns, and if you don't have a proper response or the proper funding for that, I mean, everyone's screwed. It's like a collective punishment for stupidity. So we're seeing a lot of that, unfortunately. But we know how to cover devastating weather events because I've been covering it, and then it's been getting worse and worse with some of the floods we've been covering. But so just to catch you up, what happened from July 4th to the 7th, this happened starting from July 4th. Remnants of Tropical Storm Barry dumped 5 to 20 inches of rain, central Texas and Kerr County, and the Guadalupe River and Camp Mystic. Guadalupe River rose 29 feet in under 1 hour. I think I have a time lapse of that. Oh, of the Alano River. The Llano River's flood water from the 4th. It just rose and rose so fast. So far, confirmed dead, 91 people have lost their lives in this flood. 27 of those are kids. There are still 41 people missing. Okay, that is the latest numbers right now from the floods in Texas. We had 91 plus people confirmed deceased. 27 of those are children. 41 people are still missing. Notable site, Camp Mystic. 27 campers and counselors have deceased from the Camp Mystic. Rescue and response rescues. Over 850 people have been rescued in the first 36 hours. I also have a press conference that played a couple hours ago that we're going to review here. Over 850 people have been rescued in the first 36 hours. 400 plus responders from Coast Guard, Texas National Guard, and local agencies. So it's like a big effort. Coast Guard officer Scott Ruskin saved 165 plus people by himself. Pretty legendary down there, just maximum efforts in the recovery. And then Trump did sign a disaster declaration. So the federal aid is gonna come after gutting it to begin with. No functional sirens. So there was some warning system failures. No functional sirens or alerts in parts of Kerr County. Now a lot of that could be just like internal Texas stuff. I feel like a lot of Texas funding goes towards oil stuff, oil companies, and a lot of the other things kind of get neglected. And this is something that's pretty significant. Well, unfortunately, after situations like this is what it takes to cause change. So, if you're living in these parts of Texas that aren't getting funding for your city, hopefully now Trump will blame by proxy, right? Like Governor Abbott is going to want to look good, so you're going to get funding for your stuff, hopefully now. And it sucks that this is what it takes, though, for people to make a change, because he doesn't want You just want to make it look bad, and we have all of our stuff together, even though they don't. So you're likely going to see some changes pretty quickly, and hopefully some updates to these weather alerts in your alert systems in Texas. We have them every Wednesday. We've been hearing the air raid alarm. National Weather Service staffing cuts. We talked about that already a little bit. That's a significant part of it. Could be. I think it's a combination of internal Texas deficiencies and governmental deficiencies in Texas, but also again on the federal level as well. The flash flood warnings came in way too late for people. They weren't able to get out in time. Whenever there's a flash flood, you're supposed to get notifications on your phone, weather, you got the radio, of course, or just local news alerts. And that all of that kind of didn't really happen here. So let's actually get an update. This is the latest on the situation. And then we also hold on, let's do a time lapse. Show you guys what this flood was looking like here. Just in minutes. Time lapse here. Look at that. That's wild. It reminds me of the flood in Minnesota that we covered last year. I know I was reading my summary. There's nothing to look at. I was reading just a general summary of like the events. Wild time lapse. Again, that's from the Ilano River. Time-lapse video captured by Robert Ivy shows authorities blocking off a low water crossing over the Ilano River in Kingsland just before flash flooding completely inundated the area in just 10 minutes. I record the crossing 24/7 with a security camera. The river crossing is also known as the Slab and is a local swimming spot. Okay. So let's actually go over some more here before we get the latest.
A flood watch is still in.
And also there's likely some more rain coming. We'll get the latest weather report too for Texas. I believe there's even more rain on the way.
I'm meteorologist Pat Kaplan here at KHOU in Houston, Texas. It's been a really rough week for folks in the Hill Country and Central Texas, especially the last few days with the prolific flooding that's happened through Kerrville. And
hey, put a 1 in the chat if you're from Texas. You're Texas.
Also in the Austin area, and it's left a lot of folks asking a lot of questions. This is an extreme event. It's a freak event.
Thank you, Sarah, for the stars.
And so I think it's important that we take a minute to kind of break down why it happened, what the factors were that led to it, and what kind of advanced warning those that were in harm's way got leading up to this. So let's just kind of break this down. We're going to start first with why this prolific flooding event happened. And it all has to do with tropical moisture from Tropical Storm Barry. And you might be asking yourself, what tropical storm? We didn't have anything make landfall here in Texas. And that's correct. Tropical Storm Barry formed in the Gulf last week and ended up making landfall in northern Mexico. That moisture then moved up into Texas and interacted with a slow-moving batch of storms over the middle of the state.
So it was like a double whammy with the storms combined with essence from the tropical storm. So it was like right over central Texas.
Those two combined and pretty much happened over one of the worst parts of the state when it comes to flash flooding.
Is it because it's just like in a low, is it like low plains? Like just, is flash flooding just terrible there, I'm guessing? We got a flood map. Looks like a lot of the, yeah, there's definitely some clusters where you see more of it. You can see some of the more severe areas definitely in the central part of Texas here. But is it just pretty flat and easily, like in Minnesota we get flash floods because it's pretty flat.
Events, the Hill Country, where you have all of these ravines and these creeks and these streams that kind of empty into bigger rivers, and that terrain helps.
Oh, it's a giant runoff area. Okay.
To focus moisture and water all into one spot. When you've got heavy training thunderstorms that occur in these areas, flash flooding becomes a huge problem. So let's take a look at how this kind of panned out on a map. This is the path that Tropical Storm Barry took. It formed in the Bay of Campeche and then kind of drifted into northern Mexico, and again wasn't an issue for anyone here in the United States in the days leading up to this. Here's the problem, though. Even as the circulation associated with Tropical Storm Barry fell apart, all of that moisture in the atmosphere doesn't just disappear. It's still there. And notice you've got the Sierra Madre Mountains here through central and northern Mexico, just off the coastline here. When you've got low-level tropical moisture that comes onshore, it has to go somewhere. And it can't go up and over the mountains, and so it starts to stream up north. And so you take all of that tropical moisture from this dissipating storm and you funnel it northward. Now, typically this would lead to maybe a couple of days of unsettled weather, more clouds, a couple showers for us here in South Texas. What made this situation unique was the presence of what's known as a mesoscale convective vortex. It's basically a mini area of low pressure, and it was very slow moving, pretty much stationary over central Texas. Now, forecasters knew that this MCV, mesoscale convective vortex, was going to be over the area about 12 to 18 hours before this event unfolded. And that'll go to the timeline. We'll talk about that in just a second. But once they saw this feature and they saw the interaction that was happening with that tropical moisture, that's when the first alarm bells started to go off. And again, we'll break down timeline in just a second. But when you marry that tropical moisture with this trigger for the development of thunderstorms, it just unleashed a freak event here across the hill country with slow-moving, localized, prolific, heavy rain-producing thunderstorms, first in the Kerrville area and then the days following up in the Austin area. So let's break down this timeline about what the forecasters knew and how they communicated this information to the public. Thursday afternoon, so July 3rd, just afternoon, so 1:18 p.m. Central Time.
Was this already too late, though? At 1:18 p.m. Thursday, if you're in Texas, was this too late?
Flood watches were issued, and that did include the Kerrville area. Basically, a flood watch is the National Weather Service's way
we get it on our cell phones.
Of saying, hey, conditions are possible for the potential to see flooding. It's
the same as if you get like a thunderstorm or a tornado or a watch warrant. It's the same as that. Falls under the same thing.
Imminent, it's not happening right now, but within the next 24 hours, those conditions may start to develop. Later that evening, as the forecast started to become a little more clear, as more high-resolution model data, which is what forecasters use to develop these forecasts, became more consistent, that's when they put out a special discussion about a flash flooding threat. So the messaging starts to become a little more specific Thursday evening. Now we get into the overnight hours, and just after midnight, so 1 a.m. Friday, July 4th, is when thunderstorms begin to develop right over Kerr County, and that's when the first flash flood warning is issued. This is a warning that is issued for stationary training heavy thunderstorms.
Really quick, we got flood warnings, but no one was told to evacuate. The most dangerous part was at 2 a.m. So are we getting about that 2 a.m. scary spot? The most dangerous part was 2 a.m. when everyone was sleeping and the lakes, rivers rose fast. Mod Nikki says the biggest issue I've heard is there's no sirens along the river in that area, and not all phones received alerts. Can we confirm that? We have Texas residents in chat in this area. So can you guys confirm that? Not everybody got notifications or alerts?
That are producing a tremendous amount of rainfall in a localized area that can lead to the development of rapidly rising floodwaters. 3 hours later, at 4:03 in the morning, that's when that flash flood warning is upgraded to a rare flash flood emergency. Flash flood emergencies are reserved for the most significant types of flash flooding events. This is when there is an imminent, ongoing threat to life and property, and if you don't leave, your life is in danger.
Oh man, a lot of people are sleeping during those hours too, or just getting up for work if you're doing a labor job.
And so flash flood warning
that's 4:03 in the morning though.
Are common through the hill country. Flash flood emergencies are that step above. That's a forecaster's way of saying this is a critical situation. 17 minutes later, at 4:20 in the morning, is when the Guadalupe River at Hunt hit that major flood stage, and we know what happens after that. So here's a radar loop. This radar loop goes from 1 o'clock in the morning Friday all the way through Saturday evening. And you can see,
Wow, it literally just sat in like that one area all day.
that little spin, and
Yeah.
I'll kind of segment this and break it up. But you see the spin on the radar there? That's the MCV. Again, mesoscale convective vortex. Vortex is that word that really gives us that hint of that spin in
Just sat there.
the atmosphere. This is like a mini tropical storm almost.
Yeah.
Over land,
That's
because
wild.
we're picking up tropical moisture from the remnants of Barry. You got that spin in the atmosphere, and this just becomes a self-serving engine, basically. And so we see this just persistent rainfall across the hill country for hours and hours and hours. We get a break, more develops here across the Austin area, and then it continues through Saturday and even during the day today
It's just all just sitting there, not even leaving.
on Sunday. Let's hone in on Friday specifically. We go from 1 a.m. all the way through the day. Here comes that swirl in the atmosphere. That's the MCV coming in. But before the MCV actually reaches the hill country, look what's happening over Kerrville. This one little training thunderstorm in here where it's rounds and rounds and rounds of heavy rain. And then the MCV comes in. It was that initial thunderstorm that prompted the first flash flood warning. And as we kind of pause the clock here, 2:30 in the morning, remember that first flash flood warning came out just after 2 a.m. or actually just after 1 a.m. And this is the reason why. There was one lone thunderstorm right over the north and south fork of the Guadalupe River. And that's what prompted the initial flooding. Then you get the MCV coming in on top of that. Notice the spin there, and that's just kind of enhancing everything, enhancing thunderstorms.
JC says there was no sirens in that area because they've. I wonder if anyone will be. Wait, they voted against the sirens. Wait, you vote for sirens in Texas? It just kind of comes with. I've never heard of that. Wait, actually, that can't be a thing. They voted against the weather sirens. I don't know. Cruz, you guys talk about Ted Cruz. Yeah, we got the press conference after this. This guy is doing a great job of explaining how it happened, though. So that's why I like listening to this. It might be nerdy, but I'd rather have this than Marjorie Taylor Greene tell us it's the Jewish weather system. The Democratic Jewish weather system did it. Weather weapon did it. 5G. Okay, would you rather have that or this boring explanation? But this is, I don't know. I mean, I don't understand completely everything he's saying and like all the meteorology terms of it. But when you're watching the radar, and I do watch the weather radar, and that's a Minnesotan's favorite thing to do. One of our favorite things to do is talk about the weather. Okay, and how our weather and what the weather's doing, and look at the radar. I don't know what the hell it means, but I know when it's dark, it's bad. And it was sitting in this Kerrville spot for a long time, and like sitting over it and spinning over it. And he's literally telling you it was like its own tropical storm just right over this central Texas area. So a lot of like super smart meteorology speak, right? Which is complicated because it's science. And that's a little bit more at a higher level of understanding than the weather 5G Nancy Pelosi machine did it. But the other one, which one's easier to explain though? Or I guess which one's faster?
Over the north and south fork of the Guadalupe River. And that's what prompted the initial flooding. Then you get the MCV coming in on top of that. Notice the spin there, and that's just kind of enhancing everything, enhancing thunderstorms, enhancing rainfall rates. It was the absolute perfect storm. And the problem that this presents for forecasters on TV, at the government level, in the private sector, across the board, is that this is really pushing the science of meteorology to the limit. We are not at a point yet where we can pinpoint exactly where these thunderstorms are going to pop up and where that flooding is going to happen. But this was pretty much every worst case scenario coming to light. Tropical moisture.
Well, geez. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. So they're in kind of some uncharted territory and how to really detect for that. But not having any type of alarm in the city, though, that sucks. So while yeah, you get to study the effects of those people there, though, and the people need to not be there, so that way this can happen, and there's going to be devastation in the city, but there's death, all right, because of the lack of alarms to get people out of there. So I hope they learn something from this and develop the science that needs to go into tracking when they can do it, but I guess it's too late. Let's listen to that one more time. They don't have that yet. He said they can't, not at the point where they can pinpoint exactly where it's going to be. But regardless, though, it doesn't help if you can't get anyone out of the area if there's no alarms, and the weather alert didn't go out to everybody in the area.
This is really pushing the science of meteorology to the limit. We are not at a point yet where we can pinpoint exactly where these thunderstorms are going to pop up and where that flooding is going to happen. But this was pretty much every worst case scenario coming to light. Tropical moisture, an MCV, and the terrain here, again, through the hill country with all of these little ravines and creeks and streams kind of emptying into one big river. And so the flooding that we got just resulted from just hours and hours of relentless rainfall. So here, again, at the top of the Guadalupe River. So we're not even looking at the middle of the river. We're pretty much begins here just outside of Kerrville. Over a foot of rain fell. These are radar estimates. And this extended up towards Fredericksburg as well. And then when you just compound what happened in the days after, going up towards Marble Falls, Georgetown, look at this, over 20 inches of rain. You got nearly 2 feet of rain just to the south of Brady. So there were different pockets here. Notice these pockets of pink and magenta. This is where
that's significant.
Flash flooding was the worst. And
You can see the inches from left to right, low inches, high inches. Pink is very, very bad.
This is what I was talking about, where the science just isn't there yet. We are not at a point yet where we can identify where these individual pockets that lead to this life-threatening flash flooding can happen. Until
for me, it's just like if it's going to be pink, it's bad, and there's going to be life. If it's assumed. They're trying to put more science into it, though, so they're trying to be more precise, is what he's saying. He's trying to say, which is good. It's nothing bad. That's better science for like exactly like, hey, then they can issue the emergency extreme like evacuation order earlier, because then they'll know, hey, this is going to lead into something that's going to cause a lot of death for sure. But regardless, though, if the area is pink or dark or emergency, like it's people usually want to leave there or like evacuate regardless, and not really take a chance. They would like to know if like even if it was like dark, super dark red, like you're preparing, or people at least in Minnesota will get ready for, they'll bring their plants inside or do what they got to do. In a flash flood though, yeah, there's nothing you can do. You can't bringing your plants inside won't help. You're gonna have water all around your house, but you can maybe try to get out of the area. Maybe if you're in a known flash flood area, if you've already had a history of flooding in your neighborhood where the water has gotten up to your doorstep, you'd likely want to get out of there ahead of time. So yeah, that's interesting to know. So a lot of things not between the science, but I don't know if I'd necessarily blame the science of it and that they don't have the data to let you know, hey, for sure, because even if they had that, how is that going to help? Like when it goes back to the local areas that don't have the alarm anyways. Okay, so that's interesting to know. But if the towns don't have their weather alerts, or they're not letting people know anyways, then even if the science is more precise, it's not, how does it help anyways, I guess?
Till pretty much it's starting to happen. So within about 30 minutes to an hour, the National Weather Service is going to see the trend and they're going to issue the warnings. But those warnings will only come with about 20 to 30 minutes of notice.
Damn, you got 20 to 30 minutes to get out. Holy cow.
We can't, it's not at a point yet where you give you a day's worth of notice to get out of the way of these floods.
I don't think you could get to a day's worth, though. I don't know how you do that. That'd be wild if they could predict a day ahead if there's going to be big flooding. I don't know. I think there's so many factors and conditions that would go into that. It would literally be a lot of different. I think it would be different all the time, because you could have severe weather and then not have flooding, and then another day you have the same severe weather and then you got floods because the drains are clogged or something, or it's variables, lots of different variables there to be able to try to predict that a day ahead would be wild.
Events. Let's take a deeper dive into the terrain around the hill country and where this happened. So what I've highlighted here is the North Fork of the Guadalupe River. And what you've got, outside of that, highlighted here in blue and white, these are little creeks and streams and tributaries that kind of feed into it. But this is the North Fork of the Guadalupe River. This is the South Fork of the Guadalupe River, and they meet in the town of Hunt. And remember, that flash flood emergency came in at 4:03 in the morning on Friday, and then at 4:20, 17 minutes later, the Guadalupe River here, where the two forks meet at Hunt, reached not minor, not moderate, but major flood stage. So it was just the perfect combination of conditions that led to heavy training thunderstorms over both forks of this major river that goes through the hill country and central Texas. And after that happened, you just got inundated. I mean, this magenta area here indicates that foot to 14 inches of rain that fell, and that rain came down on every creek and stream and tributary.
It was literally the worst case scenario, like the worst case. And unfortunately, it doesn't sound like this part of Texas, the government was prepared for the worst case scenario, which is what you should be, right? This is one of those situations where you want to be prepared for the worst case scenario, but not have it happen. But it doesn't seem like it was there.
That eventually emptied into the Guadalupe River that flowed downstream through Ingram and then
between the federal government and then the local government.
Eventually into Kerrville. So that's this main river here. This is the Guadalupe River. And so you had all of this rain falling on all of these streams and creeks and tributaries. And that's what led to this catastrophic flooding event. And we're talking about a scale here of a few miles. And again, unfortunately, meteorology just isn't at the point yet where we can identify exactly where these isolated thunderstorms are going to pop up, especially when you come in the middle of the night. Now, looking ahead, what does the forecast for this area look like for recovery operations, for cleanup? As we go through the rest of the overnight, we did have more thunderstorms out across this area today. All of that activity should start to die down.
Okay, well, that's we'll skip that because we're gonna want newer information. Okay, that was actually a really good explanation. Yeah, literally, that was the best explanation I think of what happened with just the science and the facts of it. And then we're gonna go. I'll give you a newer weather update to Texas. Wow. Let's do the Texas weather. Texas. Started raining in Texas Hill County. Experts question if weather service was operating at its best. Okay, we can do that in a second. It would be I'm
meteorologist.
Let's do Hill County weather. Yeah, it's going to be raining tonight, it looks like. Death toll in devastating central Texas flash floods climbs to at least 95, dozens missing. I wonder, let me go to Texas. I wonder if we got a newer weather report. That's 16 hours ago. 20 hours ago. Do you have one like from today, this morning? We'll watch that in a second. I guess that's what we should watch. How did the Texas Hill? Okay. It's from the weather report. Latest weather forecast. That's 16 hours ago now. I want one for like tonight into tomorrow. We probably have to wait. I have to wait for the evening news. It's coming up in a couple hours. Probably have to wait for the 5 o'clock weather report. Okay, well, we can get to the press conference. Go through a couple videos first. Kirk County in the Hill. Numbers are changing rapidly. See, look at this report is at least 78 have been killed, but obviously that number is higher now. We're at 95. The numbers keep rising.
An unimaginable tragedy in Texas.
Hearing the screams, because you couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. Kids screaming, asking for help.
Historic flooding taking too many lives, destroying families and communities.
It's like mass destruction. It's like a third world war zone.
It's a horrible thing that took place. Absolutely horrible.
The Hill Country just starting to process its grief. The nonstop search for the missing continues.
You know, I've got 2 babies at home, and there's people out there that they're missing their children or their family members, so I feel like it's the least I could do to help.
As recovery efforts begin.
As I've said every time I've been before you, please pray for our community.
Tonight, people across the world have Texas on their minds. Statewide, the death toll from flash flooding stands at 78. Dozens more are missing tonight. Families have shared photos of victims who've died, those who haven't yet been found, and those who survived. It includes Eloise Peck and Lila Bonner. They were best friends from Dallas, summer campers at Camp Mystic after just finishing the 2nd grade, both lost in the flood. The director of that camp, Dick Eastland, also died. He was trying to save campers, according to the Kerrville Daily Times. He was a father of 4. These are just some of the stories we will share tonight and in the coming days. The most devastating loss is in Kerr County. 68 people died there. 40 adults, 28 kids. We have gut-wrenching new pictures from after the water receded at Camp Mystic. That is that Christian summer camp for girls. It's right on the banks of the Guadalupe River. Bunks are scattered. There is mud all over the floors and the walls. 10 campers and 1 counselor are still missing tonight. Today, some returned to the camp. An Associated Press photographer was there as a young girl sobbed over what she saw. Aside from what happened in Kerr County Friday, 10 people died closer to Austin. In Travis, Burnett, Kendall, Tom Green, and Williamson counties, people were swept away by flash flooding on Saturday. Tonight, we have live team coverage from the hard questions about...
Just to give you an idea where this is on the map, okay? Give you an idea where all this is. So there's Texas. We got the big Kerr County flood area here. Okay, you can see where it is on the GPS, just to the northwest of San Antonio. But then also in the Austin area, you got the Williamson County floods, and then you got the San Saba floods. So this is like the area that we're looking at within, there you go, it might be easier to see, within Texas. Okay, just northwest of San Antonio.
Alerts and evacuations to the many lives lost. Our Chris Lawrence is leading our coverage from Kerrville. Chris, you arrived this evening. What did you feel when you caught your first glimpse?
Thank you, Time Lord.
The first thing was that when it comes to these rivers, you can't take anything for granted, and that what may be true at any given moment may not stand. I want to give you a look behind me. You can see that tractor, overturned tractor there in the water behind me. We've also seen some flashes of light further out, which are search and rescue teams on the other side of the Guadalupe River. I did just speak with 2 state troopers who have been guarding some of the access points to get down here. They told me this section is higher than it was just a few hours ago, and they're monitoring it now as a precaution. I also want you to take a look at this. We did just get some new video from ABC News showing the Coast Guard conducting their search and rescue operations today. You know, they have been in the water and flying over the scene trying to locate any survivors. Now, these crews have access not only to thermal but night vision cameras, which not only allows them to identify any possible movement from the air, it also allows them to work around the clock.
Of course, we're a lot more productive during the day, but we search at night, and we're seeing some really good results, which is good. But the bad news is you will see the death toll rise today and tomorrow.
Look, we know some families are praying for the best, that a loved one will still be found alive, and at the same time, based on the number.
Luan says, I live near Georgetown. I can't believe this. Nonstop prayers. Grateful my friends with children in camps nearby are safe, but they're not okay. Nobody is okay.
Number of bodies that were recovered or identified today. On one level, we are bracing for the worst. As the search continues, there are mounting questions over what if anything, might have given residents or campers more warning. And right now, officials are trying to determine if there was a gap in communication, and if so, where.
Exactly. Debate erupts over roll cuts, job cuts played in weather forecasts ahead of the deadly Texas floods. Former federal officials and outside experts have warned for months that Donald Trump's deep staffing cuts to the National Weather Service could endanger lives. After torrential rains and flash flooding struck Friday in the Texas Hill Country, the Weather Service came under fire from local officials who criticized that they described as inadequate forecasts, though most in the Republican-controlled state stopped short of blaming Trump's cuts. Democrats, meanwhile, wasted little time in linking the staff reductions to the disaster, which is being blamed for the death of at least 80 people, including more than 24 girls and counselors attending a summer camp on the banks of the Guadalupe River. The National Weather Service office responsible for that region had 5 staffers on duty as thunderstorms formed over Texas Thursday evening, the usual number for an overnight shift when severe weather is expected. Current and former NWS officials defended the agency, pointing to urgent flash flood warnings issued in pre-dawn hours before the river rose. This was an exceptional service to come out first with the catastrophic flash flood warning, and this shows the awareness of meteorologists on shift at the NWS office, said Brian Lemaire, who retired at the end of April as the meteorologist in charge at the NWS forecast office in Tampa, Florida. There is always the challenge of pinpointing extreme values, however. The fact the catastrophic warning was issued first shows the level of urgency. Wasn't it? It was pretty late, though. Wasn't it like 4 in the morning? Well, they didn't have the extreme one. Wait, didn't have the extreme warning until when?
And
4, right? When did this guy here?
I'm meteorologist.
This guy did a great timeline. I mean, yeah, you got the flash flood warning, but people won't take that until you get the emergency one. That was I don't know if that was fast. Probably should have had the emergency one at like 2 or like even 1 maybe. But that goes back to what he was saying, that we can be more precise. But yeah, you had people won't watch and warning. I'm like, just being honest. We coming from someone that gets flash floods and we get severe thunderstorm, and like warning people take more serious, but even less so. But if you obviously have like an emergency declared, then people will pay attention to that, obviously. But that didn't come quick. Came kind of late, but. Questions remain, however, about the level of coordination and communication between the NWS and local officials on the night of the disaster. Trump administration has cut hundreds of jobs at the National Weather Service, with staffing down by at least 20%. And nearly half the 122 National Weather Service field offices nationally, and at least half a dozen no longer staff 24 hours a day. There's some that aren't even operating at 24 hours a day. Hundreds more experienced forecasters and senior managers were encouraged to retire early. The White House has also proposed slashing its parent agency's budget by 27% and eliminating federal research centers focused on studying the world's weather, climate, and oceans. Great. The website for the National Weather Service office for Austin and San Antonio, which covers the region that includes the hard-hit Kirk County, shows 6 of the 27 positions are listed as vacant. The vacancies include a key manager responsible for issuing warnings. Oof. And coordinating with local emergency management officials. Yikes. Oof, that's not a vacancy you want to have, huh? I don't think you want that one vacant. An online resume for the employee who last held the job showed he left in April after more than 17 years, shortly after mass emails sent to employees urging them to retire early or face potential layoffs. Democrats on Monday pressed the Trump administration for details about the cuts. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer demanded that the administration conduct an inquiry into whether staffing shortages contributed to the catastrophic loss of life. I think it should be that, but also Texas too. Like, yeah, it'll definitely be a contributing factor for the cuts, but I think a bigger picture might be the local Texas government and not taking care of business there, because a lot of their efforts go towards oil companies and not much else. So I think there should be also an investigation into the local Texas government and what's going on there. Okay. Former officials warned that job cuts could hamper future forecasts. Okay, we kind of got that one. Former federal officials and experts have said that Trump's reductions would cause problems, and we're now having problems. The situation is getting to the point where something could break. Oops. The people are being tired out, working through the night, and then being there during the day because the next shift is short-staffed. Anything like that could create a situation in which important elements of these are jobs that we don't want to be short-staffed. I mean, I don't. I guess that's woke now. I don't know. You know, I don't play with the weather. We lose. We can't beat the weather. We can only predict it and then try to react ahead of time. But you lose. You can't fight a severe storm or a tornado or a hurricane. You can't fight those. You just kind of you get tossed around, and hopefully you get your family out of there in time so you live, and then all your stuff will likely be destroyed because you can't win. What Mother Nature's undefeated. So I think these type of jobs should not be cut short, because if these people, if their government isn't staffing these positions properly, or there's cuts, then it will result in a loss of life, like we're seeing. And it's not all on this. It's, again, I think there's also some deficiencies in the local Texas government too, and why there weren't warnings issued in the local areas of Kerr County. I think that's a Texas issue. Cuts resulted from the Republican effort to privatize duty. What the hell? Why is that being privatized? Why? Why do we need private weather companies? Why? Anyone? The weather should not be privatized. Is that a hard statement to make? Am I making a big one there? Holy shit, dude. The cuts follow a decade-long Republican effort to dismantle and privatize many of the duties of the NOAA, which is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the agency within the Commerce Department that includes the National Weather Service. The reductions have come as Trump, and pretty soon you're gonna have to have a subscription fee to figure out if you have to evacuate. Sorry, you didn't know you had to evacuate. You weren't subscribed to National Weather Service Plus. Okay, you're in the base program. You don't get the evacuation package. Project 2025, it's in there. It's all in there. I read it, and cuts to the National Weather Service was in it. I feel like I'm repeating myself, so we'll just leave it at that. But yes, it is in Project 2025. Did like a 6-hour stream reading it. But Trump said it wasn't real, so people didn't take it seriously. I don't know what it is. It's all in there. Trump officials say they didn't fire meteorologists. Said it's fake news. Okay, it's the usual. Nothing's different there. Experts worry about forecasts for hurricanes. Okay, now we're worried about the future with it. Okay. Yep. Okay, so people are worried. There's a right to be worried, I'd say.
There can be all kinds of alert systems that are sent, and we know that some were sent, some general messaging was sent early, some urgent warnings were sent at various times, but just sending the message is not the same as receiving the message, having a plan to do something when you receive the message. And
is he blaming the people? Wow. Yeah, it wasn't our fault for distributing. It was our people that weren't ready. Yeah. They weren't ready. That's definitely a strat.
And then the ability to implement that plan.
Wow.
Yeah, obviously that's a threat.
Yeah, Texans, it's your fault, not the government's fault.
We will continue to follow up on in the days to come. You know, speaking of, just to get some context on what's happening here, my colleague Joe Ben-Punaker has been here for the past few days. You've been reporting on the scene. Give us a sense of what changed today.
So we used to have access along Guadalupe River, Highway 39. Now it is controlled entry. So only residents, only first responders. I think what they were realizing is that it was taking first responders way too long to actually get to these emergencies. And that's the sad reality of these things, because this is still an active search and rescue, and it is a fluid situation. 3 days in, and the search is frantic for survivors. But with every hour that passes, hope drains.
It was just a...
The historic flood of the Guadalupe River has swallowed up these small towns.
It's like mass destruction. It's like a third world war zone.
The death toll rises while the water recedes. In Kerr County, 68 people are confirmed dead, 28 are children.
This is what the water can do.
A horse from one of the camps washed up on Casey's property.
Oh no.
Today, he's doing what he never wishes he had to.
Looking for any signs of people, honestly.
Jeez.
Still searching. It has been a long week.
We are both restless and exhausted.
Sunday service looked different at First Presbyterian in Kerrville.
It'll be a hard day.
I know, it's been really hard on you.
Lots of hugs to go around.
A couple days.
Lots of hugs.
People are searching for hope, for community, for tangible love.
Jane Ragsdale attended here, a well-known, well-loved camp director for Heart of the Hills.
So she was someone who loved dearly, who really cared about this church.
Today's sermon is the reminder to do good.
Our hearts ache because we love.
It is tough sharing the good news.
Rescue helicopter. It's been constant.
When everything around you looks so bad.
This is our family history. My husband grew up here, I grew up here, my kids grew up here, his family grew up here, so it's very special.
4 generations of the Jacobs have lived here. Nika is searching for what little she can salvage. Depending on who you ask in this tragedy, there is too little time and also far too much.
This is our hope. This is our faith. And because of this place, we'll keep moving forward.
I mean, just such powerful feelings in that piece, Joe. But now that you've been here several days, what sense are you getting from people in the community here about where they are emotionally, spiritually right now?
It started off with people feeling numb in the first couple days, and now I think they're feeling overwhelmed. You have to understand, it is sensory overload. You have the DPS chopper still up in the air circling Guadalupe River. You have the dive team still in the water. You have search crews up along the ridge lines, up along Guadalupe River.
Yeah,
and
we're seeing the lights pop up every now and then.
Yeah. It is still an active scene.
Yeah.
So with all those things happening, overwhelmed is the operative word here.
Okay. All right. Well, it's certainly understandable. Well, you've done a great job, and you've handled this with a lot of, I think, tenderness and compassion, which is certainly what these folks need right now. Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Joe. But also, I just want to call your attention to the fact that this tragedy has really touched every corner of Texas. It was just tonight during a prayer service tonight in Dallas that St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church confirmed that Lila Bonner was confirmed dead in this tragic flood.
Who's that?
For a little bit more on that sense, and as we learn a little bit more about the victims, I want to send it to my colleague Kevin Reese.
Brooke and Blair Harbor were students at St. Rita's Catholic Church in Dallas. They were in a cabin with their grandparents, who are still missing. St. Rita's wrote to us saying that Blair and Brooke were young women of deep faith, and in a GoFundMe post their family writes they had their rosaries with them. Their bodies were found 15 miles away in Kerrville. When they were found, their hands were locked together.
Damn.
Only their parents survived the flood. The Fort Worth Diocese and the family of Hadley Hannah say the 8-year-old is still among the missing from Camp Mystic. 8-year-olds Eloise Peck and Lila Bonner, who just finished the 2nd grade at Bradfield Elementary, best friends, confirmed among the victims. At the school Sunday, a crowd gathered to tie ribbons around trees for the missing and the dead. Highland Park ISD telling us that our hearts are heavy. We are deeply saddened to report the loss of multiple students, and our thoughts and prayers are with all of the families deeply affected by this unimaginable tragedy. Green ribbons are now being tied statewide for the victims of Camp Mystic. And the family of 9-year-old Janie Hunt of Dallas confirms her passing too, reportedly attending Camp Mystic with several cousins of the Hunt family of Dallas. Tavia Hunt, the wife of Kansas City Chiefs owner Clark Hunt, writing on social media that our hearts are broken by the devastation from the floods and the tragic loss of so many lives, including a precious Hunt cousin, along with several friends, little girls, and also wrote that even in heartbreak, God is weaving a story we cannot yet see.
You couldn't see anything, it was pitch black. But hearing people scream, kids screaming, asking for help. He's not a hero, and that will never dawn unnoticed.
This family says their hero is 27-year-old Julian Ryan, who broke open a window in their flooded home to save his family. They survived, he did not.
Damn.
The shattered glass cut him so deeply, he could not be saved in time. The search to find any more to save goes on. I'm Kevin Reese.
You know, you can count on us to be here around the clock to bring you the very latest on the search for these victims, also to look into these questions about the early warning system and if anything else could have been done in that regard. But I do just want to call your attention to one thing, and that is these search and rescue teams that are still out here trying to find any survivors and or just give families a measure of closure and give you an idea of some of the conditions that they are working in right now. Some of the teams are working like the Coast Guard throughout the night. They are literally digging through the mud. They are in the water where there are snakes, there are water moccasins. This is hard, dirty work, and it is meticulous work. They've got to, you know, tear through some of these vines and tangled debris to try to get to every section of this river, trying to give even more families the closure that they desperately need. So those are the kind of stories that we'll be telling you more over the next couple days. But for now, reporting live in Kerrville, I'm Chris Lawrence. Teresa, I'll send it back to you.
Like Fancy Pants says, rest in peace to the lives lost. Terrible tragedy in Texas unfolding. I haven't been able to talk about it or obviously go live about it because I have been on my little vacation, but yeah, it's been pretty severe and devastating. Trucking Sasquatch 999 says, all you politicizing the strategy, it's Mother Nature's floods, happens everywhere. We're not the only ones. It's messed up that you guys can't live a day without blaming Trump or elected officials. It's yeah, it's a pendulum swing. And yeah, I don't agree with it either, to be honest. Like, but I'm not gonna tell people to stop because it's just how it is. It's unfortunate, right? But I covered the California wildfires, and I remember that, and I wasn't with that either. But I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit here and police it because it happens, and it's unfortunate. That's why I don't really like engage with it. I showed you that, hey, you know, there's some issues with funding to the National Weather Service, and that's not good, and that could be a contributing factor. But I also said it's more than that, and it's likely just the local Texas government too. But it's unfortunately the climate. It's the climate that we're in. Okay.
Still in effect for the.
So this is the latest information now from the press conference from a couple hours ago from the local and city officials and state officials in Texas, and I think there might be some federal officials too. We'll see. I haven't really watched it yet, but Mod Nikki sent me this in the chat, and this is the press conference from today.
The county at this hour. The sheriff is speaking now. Let's listen in.
Affected. Reuniting the families remain our top priority here on this operation. Please note that Highway 39 of an Old Ingram Loop remains closed to the public. Other than those who live in that area would not be allowed out there. I will now turn it over to Senator Cruz. City Manager Dalton Rice.
Good morning, Dalton Rice, the city manager for the city of Kerrville. As everybody knows, we are working in conjunction with the city under a unified command response and again, a lot of devastation. Our hearts go out to the families and the victims. We want to continue to work together as a community. We love the media support on this to be able to communicate that message, communicate family, communicate togetherness, and we really appreciate all the support and helping us be able to do that. Search and rescue, as the sheriff said, search and rescue operations will continue today from Hunt in North Kerr County all the way to Canyon Lake in Comal County. Now, we're only focused on the Kerr County side, but we wanted to talk about that because for a linear from Hunt all the way to Comal County in a straight line distance is over 100 kilometers. This is a massive field that is happening. And again, this is unprecedented flood events. So we are still currently in the in the primary search phase, which is the rapid one. They are running it, we have different segments that are gridded out. Each one of those segments are taking anywhere between an hour to 3 hours, up to 2 kilometers for each segment. So what that means is they're running into a lot of technical challenges with terrain, with water, even potentially, with weather, in the rising fields. We've talked about this before. Volunteers stay out of the way, because if we start getting weather reports and all, and all the other complications that are out there, we then have to pull off of those.
So like, okay, so you see what you guys are saying. Like in these situations, blaming, like, yeah, calling for accountability from the government isn't politicizing it. That's not politicizing it. You know what an example of it is? And it actually came from somebody that I usually agree with. And here's an example of like bad politicization, politicization, whatever, stupid word. And I'm not with it. Oh, it's unavailable. He deleted it. Okay, he did get rid of it then. It was pretty rough. Let me see if I can like screenshot it and show you what he said, because it's gone now. It still shows up in the. Hold on. Let's see if I can find this post. I don't know if somebody screen grabbed it or not, so I can read it. If not, let me see. We can do this. Okay. Here's a obviously, like I tell you, when like the right wing politicizes everything, and I shit on them for it. Like when we had the California wildfires, and what Democrats are being blamed, or like the Democrats are using weather machines. That's politicization of an event. And I guess here would be the other side of it, people that do it, but it's like it was like, it's so ridiculous to even compare, in my opinion, because it's like 1 or 2 people that do this, whereas like the right wing, it's like everybody engages in politicizing events, like everybody, and it's like unanimous. And whenever it's on the other shoes on the other foot, it's like, I get it, you don't want to hear it, you want to be left alone and just be in your community, or like just you want thoughts and prayers instead, but you get what you give, I guess, right? And I'm telling you right now, I don't like it. I don't like it. I push against it when I'm covering all types of weather related events and people politicize it, or tragedies. And sometimes it's facts, and other times it's it doesn't help, or it's just stupid. But here's an example of the other side of it. And like but he deleted it now, so I think he even saw that it was a bad idea. Where is it? Where do I put my stuff? Well, I put it in politics chat. Okay, here you go. Okay, so Ron already deleted this. I just looked. That's why I had to do a screenshot and do all that extra stuff. Okay, so Ron, which he's the Midas touch guy, and I agree with the majority of what they say. So it's okay. I can disagree with people I agree with. I always have too. I always have. The people in Texas voted for government services controlled by Donald Trump and Greg Abbott. That is exactly what they're getting. Okay? Now, is it technically a wrong statement? No. Is it a statement that should be made right now in good taste? Like, if you want, like, I get it though. But is it really the best time? Is there ever a good time to say that? Because there's a lot of people in Texas that didn't vote for Trump, and they don't like Abbott, especially in these areas that are getting hit. I mean, Austin, Texas, not really the most left, not really the most right wing there, but there's a lot of people there that are being killed, or like they're losing their families, and they didn't vote for Trump or Abbott. They're just stuck in their state, and it's not like they can leave. It's where their family is. So I'm glad that Ron deleted this, because yeah, this is not good. No, I don't agree with this at all here. I don't like that. I don't like this shit here. Okay, that's just like when I was mad when Trump won. Okay, and then I have a big geopolitical audience, right, and people from Europe, and they were like, Americans get, and like I'd push back against them too. I was like, there were 75 million of us that voted against him, and we're doing what we can. And I'm not with America is forever cooked. Like, there will be days where I can believe that based on what's happening out of our government, but other than that, like, I'm fighting against it. And there's like a constant effort of me like working against it. So if I hear some European tell me America is fallen or whatever, like I will feel a certain type of way, because like no, it's not still here. I'm fighting for it. Okay. Just like there's people in Texas that are not supportive of Trump or Greg Abbott. I think you might be have some Trump supporters, but there might be more people unified and against Greg Abbott in Texas. Maybe. I don't know yet. I'm not really in the ins and outs, but Greg Abbott is not really the most popular governor in there. He's just the only right-wing choice, really, and he's connected to the oil company. So while I will absolutely show you all the right-wing politicizations of everything, like I do all day long, this is an example of Ron, who's kind of like not even that far left, to be honest. He's pretty like center. He's center left for sure, but not extreme. But this comment doesn't help, and I wouldn't agree with that. But also, like I said, I'm not gonna police it. And now if I see it, if someone in the chat says or whatever, I'm not gonna time them out or whatever, because it's like the pendulum swinging. Okay, that's just the reality we're in now. Listen, I didn't make the rules. Okay, I didn't make the rules. I'm not going to necessarily play them, but I'm not going to stop others from playing them, if that makes sense. But I'll just tell you, hey, like, I don't agree with that too much. But I'm not going to tell you not to say, red Texas, whatever. But just understand, though, if you're coming out here saying, like, Texas gets what they get because they're a red state, you're going to make a lot of people that are in that red state that aren't red upset. And that's not going to be helpful. And then they're going to be like, okay, great. I live in a red state. Thank you. I didn't know that. I lost my house and my family's missing, but thank you. I guess I live in a red state. So I guess it's just what I get, because there's people that aren't. So it puts you in a position where, like, then if someone comes back at you, like, well, I did vote for Trump or whatever, then what do you say? Are you gonna act like a MAGA and tell them to move? Well, then move and get out of there. You don't even live there. It's like, don't even do it then. Don't even engage in that. You can easily critique Trump and Abbott on their own without like saying that Texas and people of Texas deserve this, or any type of weather situation, no matter what. It's going to put you in a bad spot if you engage in that. So again, like, just to conclude, I'm not going to police it, because I know how it works when it's on the other foot, and we saw how California was treated. That's why I'm not going to police it, but I'm personally not going to play the game. Okay, that's where I'm at with it. All right, let's continue. Latest in the press conference.
Search and rescue missions to be able to communicate to those volunteers to get off, to make sure that they don't become victims themselves. Those operations involve 19 different local and state agencies, in addition to conducting primary and secondary searches. They will be conducting welfare checks on areas in North Kerr County impacted by power outages. And when we say search and rescue operations, that is boat, walking, on the ground, dogs, drones. Again, keep personal drones out of the air, helicopters. We do have other assets that are continuing the search as well. As of present, KPUB, which is the Kerrville Public Utility Board, is reporting continued power outages between Hunt and Ingram along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River in Hunt. In the South Fork area, there are approximately 40 down power lines and significant infrastructure damage. KPUB has brought in additional utility personnel to help with restoration, but it's not possible at this time when the power is going to be restored. There are some substations along with those power lines that we are still trying to get access to, just from debris buildup or them being completely wiped out. So we do not have an estimated time on when those are going to be fixed. We continue to have substantial number of requests for volunteers, as I said before, and donation opportunities. We are asking those who want to volunteer to contact the Salvation Army in Kerrville by phone at 830-465-4797 or in person at 855 Hayes Street in Kerrville. Monetary donations can be made on the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country's website at www.communityfoundation.net. They have a Kerr County Relief Fund set up on that site. And I will now turn it over to the Mayor, Joe Herring.
Thank you for being here. I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week.
This is the mayor of Kerrville.
Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river. Our work continues. You need to know that we have been blessed with help from the community, from the state, and the nation. We have trained experts who are helping in this effort. If you want to volunteer, it is important that you contact Kerrville Salvation Army and register. Dalton gave that number, but I'm going to give it again. 830-465-4797. We need focused and coordinated volunteers, not random people just showing up and doing what they do. We need to work together. As Dalton said, donations have been flowing in from around the world to the Community Foundation. Again, that website is communityfoundation.net. Please follow the City of Kerrville's Facebook page for updates. They're accurate. We take a lot of time to make sure we send out information that will be helpful, not only to residents, but to those who are visiting. I've said this 100 times, and I will say it again. We need your prayers. We need your prayers. Thank you. And now, Senator Ted Cruz.
Oh boy. Oh geez, can't. You guys are full of hatred, and that's why you just trucking. You can rewind and put the chat down and hear my whole explanation of politicizing events, and you can either handle that or you can't. Okay, to act like it's just one side doing it would be hilarious. Just go back. You can go back to my videos covering the wildfires in California and how bad that was, and how it was Newsom was out there personally with the fire, with the flamethrower, lighting the houses on fire. And then it was also Ukrainian generals intentionally lit their LA homes on fire so Zelensky could get another batch of money type shit. I don't want to hear, like, that's why it's like, I have how I feel, but I don't really want to hear it because it's so bad. It's worse. All right. It's worse from the other side of it. Okay. But in general, if you don't play the game, then you don't have to worry about it. You just kind of watch it and see how bad people are and how dog shit people are. So it's a choice. You can play the game or not. I'm not playing it.
Texas is grieving right now. The pain, the shock of what has transpired these last few days has broken the heart of our state. As of yesterday, the confirmed death toll was 82, and those numbers are continuing to go up.
Boy.
The children and little girls who were lost at Camp Mystic. That's every parent's nightmare. Every mom and dad. Last week, we were picking up our daughter from camp here in Hunt. Our girls have gone to camp here for a decade. The Hill Country is an incredible part of Texas, part of the country. The natural beauty here is incredible. The camps that have raised generations of little girls and little boys and instilled character and love and faith are extraordinary institutions. And I'll tell you, the pain in our state, and it's every part of the state. You've got Texans from all over the state who were here celebrating the 4th of July. A week ago, this was a time of great celebration. You're dropping your little girl off at camp, your little boy off at camp. You're celebrating Independence Day. You know that your child is going to be swimming and canoes and horseback riding and doing archery and making lifetime friends. And then suddenly it turns to tragedy. For the last several days, I've spoken to multiple parents, scared out of their mind. Do you know anything? Where is my daughter? There's still 10 girls and 1 counselor from Camp Mystic that are unaccounted for. And the pain and agony of not knowing your child's whereabouts, it's the worst thing imaginable. But I want to say, in the face of all of this, it is simultaneously inspiring. Every time there's a tragedy, every time there's a natural disaster in Texas, Texans come together. Texas is a big state. We got 31 million people, and we have hurricanes, we have tornadoes, we have wildfires.
Yeah, they come together while you bail and you go to Cancun. Yep.
Tragedies hit this state.
Ted Cruz is like, oh, Texans are coming together. Let's send Israel another. This is a perfect time to send Israel another weapons package.
Disasters hit this state, and without fail, 100 out of 100 times.
Like, I don't care. This guy's a clown. He's just a clown. I'm not going to listen. Like, if someone sincere has something to say about it, then it is. But Ted Cruz is never sincere, so his words mean nothing. Okay.
And that happens. We see Texans coming together, helping each other, engaging in acts of heroism. There have been over 850 high water rescues since this flooding began. 850. You look at extraordinary stories of Eagle Scouts pulling campers out of harm's way. I was just hearing a story of one counselor whose head was right at the water holding up 2 mattresses with campers on those mattresses. That kind of courage, that kind of selflessness. And then they're the first responders. The local first responders, I want to thank every one of the first responders at the local level, at the city level, at the county level, at the state level, at the federal level. In the first few hours of this flood, I was on the phone with Governor Abbott. I was on the phone with Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. I was on the phone with Nim Kidd, the head of the Texas Department of Emergency Management. And then I called President Trump. I called President Trump. He was having dinner at the time. It was still early in what was transpiring. And I wanted him to know, I said, Mr. President, everything we're hearing right now, this appears to be bad, really bad. There may be a very significant loss of life unfolding right now in Texas. And I will tell you, the President said, Ted, anything Texas needs, the answer is yes. Whatever assets you need, whatever resources you need, yes, let us know, and we will provide everything. Within hours, we had helicopters, over a dozen helicopters in the air. National Guard, DPS, game wardens, Coast Guard, doing search and rescue, reaching down. We've all seen the videos of little girls being pulled up, hoisted out of harm's way. Incredible courage and heroism. Search and rescue is the first stage, but the process of coming together and rebuilding is going to take longer. And I will say to all the grieving families, to all of those who've gotten the worst news imaginable that your little girl, she's gone. I will say for many of us, those are friends and neighbors who've lost children. I've got multiple kids who go to school with my girls. The mayor asked for prayers. And I want to say,
he's so fake, dude.
Thank you to the millions of Texans, to the millions of Americans, to the millions of people all over the world right now who are praying for Texas and praying for those parents. Going through this grief, it is going to take love. It is going to take friends and family embracing and hugging and holding them while they weep. And it's going to take the church. With every disaster, one of the things we see here in Texas is the church steps up and the church helps and the church feeds and clothes and comforts. This morning I met with a group of chaplains who've been going through the incredibly difficult process of talking to mom and dad after mom and dad who just lost the most precious person they ever knew. And those chaplains are just trying to love them and show God's love. So I want to say we will come through this. To those in the midst of grief right now, that might seem hard to fathom. But Texas will come through this. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to these gentlemen here who are working. They are not sleeping. They are working every day. Thank you to the families. Thank you to the Salvation Army. Thank you to everyone who is just reaching out and saying, how can I help? We will come through this, and we'll come through this together. Thank you.
Oh.
And now we'll take questions.
Senator, you talked about how you know kids here and you're taking your own kids to camp. Was it ever communicated to you that there was a need, that it was a priority to have a warning system so people had a chance to escape something like this?
Well, listen, I think anytime you're dealing with major rivers, there's a risk of flooding, and there's always been a risk of flooding, particularly on the Guadalupe River. I will say, in the wake of every tragedy, there are things that are predictable. One of the things that's predictable is that you see some people engaging in, I think, partisan games. and trying to blame their political opponents for a natural disaster. And you see that with a hurricane, with a tornado, with a wildfire, with this flooding, where people immediately say, well, the hurricane is Donald Trump's fault. Look, that I think most normal Americans know that's ridiculous, and I think this is not a time for partisan finger pointing and attacks.
Oh my, so fake. Oh boy. Oh my God. Oh my God. No right to say that. You have no right to say that.
Now, after we come through search and rescue.
Only we get to do it. That's only we can. It's so gross.
After we come through the process of rebuilding, there will naturally be a period of retrospection where you look back and say, okay, what exactly transpired? What was the timeline? And what could have been done differently to prevent this loss of life? And that's a natural process. I think it should not happen in a bitter and partisan sense, but it should happen in a reasonable sense of saying, what lessons can we learn? And I will give an example. Houston's my hometown. If you live on the Gulf Coast, we get hurricanes. That's part of living on the Gulf Coast as hurricanes hit. And I do think Texas as a whole has learned over time how to deal more effectively with hurricanes. And so you look here, we know the National Weather Service put out an emergency warning just after 1 a.m. and a second emergency warning just after 4 a.m. Now, obviously, most people at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. are asleep. And so I think we will have a reasonable conversation about, are there any ways to...
weather alarms. There should have been alarms going off. Because, yeah, people are sleeping. So if their phone isn't on, then you have the town sirens. Like we do in the Midwest. Every town has a siren.
To have earlier detection. And some of that, the limits of a flash flood.
Well, I guess I shouldn't say everyone. I don't know that. But everyone I've been to in Minnesota has a severe weather alarm.
They're very difficult because they can arise so quickly. But everyone would agree in hindsight, if we could go back and do it again, we would evacuate particularly those in the most vulnerable areas, the young children in the cabins closest to the water. We would remove them and get them to higher ground if we could go back and do it again. Obviously, everyone would. The people in RVs by the river's edge. We know in disasters like this, RVs and mobile homes are particularly susceptible, whether a flood or a hurricane or a tornado, they're particularly susceptible to that. And so my hope is, in time, we will learn some lessons to implement to next time, and there will be another flood, there will be another disaster. But next time there's a flood, I hope we have in place processes to remove especially the most vulnerable from harm's way. But I think that's going to be a process that will take a careful examination of what happened and how can we implement processes better in the future to prevent this same loss.
Yeah, maybe the manager position that's vacant, that is responsible for issuing warnings, that was cut because of Trump, and Trump did that. So people that are blaming Trump have valid reasons to. There's nothing else. I don't know what the manager position is vacant for the one responsible for issuing the warning. And some of the towns from people are saying don't have the alarm, which is wild. They don't have a weather alarm.
Senator, there were claims that the National Weather Service sent that first flash flood warning that should have alerted phones at 1:14 in the morning. But we have a federal public database maintained by PBS Warn, that says the first emergency alert wirelessly here in this area to Kerr County was not until after 9 a.m. That was 4 hours after the severe flooding had come to this area. Did you know that? Have you seen that? What's your response, knowing the state had cuts to the NWS in recent months by this administration?
So I don't know the source for what you're saying. All of the public reporting I've seen is that there were 2 alerts that went out, one just after 1 a.m., one after 4 a.m. I can tell you, I talked about the partisan finger pointing. I think there have been some eager to point at the National Weather Service and say cuts there led to a lack of warning. I think that's contradicted by the facts. And if you look at the...
Is it? Let's look at the facts. Texas lawmakers failed to pass a bill to improve local disaster warning systems this year. Oops. Oh, wow. Now's not the time for finger pointing. Yes, it is. A GOP lawmaker who represents Kerr County says he likely would vote differently now. Wow. I would vote different because the disaster happened. For the last 3 days, State Representative Wes Verdell has been out with first responders in Kerr County as they search for victims and survivors for the devastating floods that swept through central Texas early Friday morning. All the focus right now is let's save all the lives we can, Verdell, who was still on the scene in Kerrville, told the Texas Tribune on Sunday. Riddell's close-up view of the havoc wreaked on his district has made a lasting impression, he said, and left him reconsidering a vote he made just a few months ago against a bill that would have established a statewide plan to improve Texas's disaster response, including better alert systems, along with a grant program for counties to buy new emergency communication equipment and build new infrastructure like radio. I wonder, wow, this is not hard to figure out what happened, I guess, huh? Yes. Is the scientific weather-related event of the air pressure and the tropical storm combination that made it bad, and it was bad? Yes. That is definitely for sure, and no one is in control of that. That is God or whatever in your brain controls the weather. Or if you're Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's the Democrats controlling the weather machine, okay? The weather machine did that part, okay? The other part is now that, I mean, you're gonna have weather no matter what, but it was about saving lives and getting people out of there and evacuations. So that way, yes, a lot of people would have lost their homes or all the destruction would have still happened. All that destruction you're seeing would have still happened, but not as many people would have likely died. There would still be deaths. There would still be people missing. There would still be people severely injured, but maybe not as many. If you would have had, number one, a manager at the position that's responsible for it, that Trump cut, and then, like I had said, or guessed, and then I just saw this article just came out, 15 hours ago, that there was literally funding available, and Texas voted against it, or Texas representatives voted against it. What do they vote for? What else is there to vote for? Is it really just oil executive tax write-offs? Or tax cuts for oil executives in Texas? Is that all you get? What the hell? I can tell you in hindsight, watching what it takes to deal with a disaster like this, my vote would probably be different now. Yeah, I'm sure it would. The measure, House Bill 13, would have created a new government council to establish the emergency response plan and administer the grant program, both of which would have been aimed at facilitating better communication between first responders. The bill also called for the plan to include the use of outdoor warning sirens. Yeah, those are good. Those you should have that. So there's places in Texas that doesn't have emergency sirens. How do you know if there's how do you know if something's happening? How do you know if some shit's going down? What? Golly, we've had emergency alert sirens since I was a child, and that was in the 90s. So we've had like these sirens for 30 years or more. What in the hell, Texas? And then you vote, and then your politicians are voting against them. What in the heck is going on? This is wild. The bill's initial $500 million cost drew heavy criticism from fellow Republicans. This shouldn't be about anything other than the fact it's $500 million. Okay. Tinderbolt, a hardline conservative and budget hawk, said during the April 1st House floor debate, "This is probably one of the most simple votes we should be able to take today. It's that this interoperability council is going to spend money to try to get these departments to be able to talk together." Stephen Araney, a spokesperson for Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, noted that lawmakers, including the Texas Senate, which Patrick oversees, made several unprecedented investments in disaster response during this year's legislative session. So they spent that much anyways. Well, politicians are dumb. They're dumb. They're all stupid. They're all dumb. We're not on that video. So they spent more. Spent $547 million, but they would have a $500 million bill that would have improved the infrastructure of the weather alert system that you need. Holy shit.
The facts in particular, number one, that these warnings went out hours before the flood became a true emergency level. But number two, the National Weather Service here New Braunfels is where they were headquartered. They had additional manpower. In fact, they had 3 additional people working that night, anticipating that it was going to be a very dangerous weather situation. I also think it's worth noting that the National Weather Service Union, which has been very critical of the DOJ cuts, has publicly said that they don't believe that the reduction in staffing had any impact whatsoever.
Cope harder
On their ability to warn of this event. And
right.
So, look, I think it is reasonable over time to engage in a retrospective and say at every level what could have been done better, because all of us,
me included,
would want to prevent this horrific loss of life. But I think
yeah, we really would want to. I know the actions that were taken literally contributed to the fact that we weren't able to save more lives, but we really want to. All right, in our heart, we manifest it.
Just immediately
we pray for it. Okay, we pray.
Trying to use it for either side to attack their political opponents. I think that's cynical and not the right approach, particularly at a time when we're dealing with a crisis and we're dealing with grief.
No, it's because there's definitely accountability that needs to be had at the government level with this, and why people weren't alerted.
You question whether there should be cuts at the National Weather Service and FEMA. I know you've been supportive of FEMA.
Look, I am very supportive of FEMA. I'm very supportive of the National Weather Service. They both perform essential roles, and I think it is critical at every federal agency, particularly when you're dealing with public safety, that we make sure that critical roles are maintained. That's a longer and broader discussion, but as I said, everything from the public evidence indicates that was not a contributing factor to what occurred here.
Is it possible to get Dalton in just to talk about that and the National Weather Service?
Get them off. Good. Get them off.
There were escalating forecasts throughout the day from the National Weather Service. What did the emergency managers of the county and other local officials do with that information, starting at 1:15 and onward, where you had the Dire River forecast at 6:30? Were emergency managers doing anything to put any processes in place to warn people on the river?
So overall, we were preparing for the July 4th, weekend. So we had National EMR on site. We were, basically stood up kind of an incident command post, if you will, to prepare for that event. So everybody was kind of up looking at weather. We looked at the weather before. When you looked at the National Weather Service, flood map, it spanned all the way from the west side of Texas, with Kirk County kind of being in that upper northeast corner of it. And so everybody, including the National Weather Service, was looking at where's the rain going to hit. We know it's somewhere in here, but with rain, especially when you're dealing with terrain, you got to figure out, sometimes you don't know until it falls. So once it starts falling, then you got to figure out, okay, how's the watershed going to do this? How's the science going to work? And when you had that north and south fork that we had talked about before, it all converged into one. We do know that a lot of the camps were looking at this just as much as as everybody was. With the rainfall percentages, even the National Weather Service had looked at, and don't quote me on the numbers, but it was anywhere between 1 to 7 inches. We got significantly over that. And again, when it goes into very congregated areas and how that watershed shifts into the rivers, that impacts things. And so the camps, obviously, we've heard stories where campers were getting up. They were up at 3:30 in the morning. They were trying to move to higher ground. That's the head. And the other interesting part of the terrain, and we've talked to UGRA folks as well. This is the headwaters of the Guadalupe. This is the beginning. This is where everything forms when it comes into the north and south fork. And so as those things develop, it develops very rapidly, very quickly, and this rose very quickly in a very short amount of time. And so those campers that were able to do that, it worked. There's been the other question, and I'll just give this one out. Evacuations. Well, why don't we evacuate? Well, evacuation is a delicate balance, because if you evacuate too late, you then risk putting buses, or cars or vehicles or campers on roads into low water areas trying to get them out, which then can make it even more challenging, because these flash floods happen very quickly as well.
And so we saw that in 1987.
You would what? If we evacuate too late, that's why you evacuate early. You don't do it late, you do it early.
But was there any discussion about evacuation earlier when it wasn't too late? Was there any discussion about that from the officials?
Repeat your question.
Was there any discussion to evacuate or activate any emergency plan before it was too late, where it would be very dangerous?
So again, just like disasters in Texas everywhere, it's very tough to make those calls, because what we also don't want to do is cry wolf. We don't want to make sure that we activate it at the right time. It is very difficult, very challenging, especially with this. We're looking at 100 kilometers, right? And that's a big straight line distance. That's not even along the river. These areas take a lot of time to get out to.
Cry wolf, huh?
So even when first responders were on the ground at 3:30 in the morning, and we had reports, we had first responders that were getting swept away, actually responding to the first areas of rainfall. That's how quick it happened. First responders who have experience, who are swift water qualified, were driving to as soon as the rain started falling, were driving to these areas, and one of them got swept off the road.
So what else had been done?
Between 1 and 4 a.m. from local law enforcement to the camp saying, I know you can't get buses in an hour, but was there anyone telling the camp between 1 and 4 a.m., you need to get the girls to higher ground, at the very least, even if they have to walk up there in the rain, as many of them actually ended up doing? Was there any communication from local law enforcement to anyone at that camp between 1 and 4 a.m.?
That I don't know off the top of my head. What I do know, though, is there's 55,000 people in Kirk County. Kirk County is a massive, massive area. From here to those camps is 45 minutes on a good day. And so, obviously one of the big challenges that we have, even when you have cell service, a lot of those areas don't even have cell service.
Wow. So your politicians voted against an alert system because your cell service is bad in rural areas. Like, that's common sense. So you need an alarm because you need an audible something for people to hear when things are bad because cell service is bad. What in the hell is happening?
Radio communications tower.
Texas is corrupt. All the money to oil executives. No money for the people in Texas.
Radio towers within the hill country, it becomes very challenging. So there's a lot of areas, especially when weather comes in, where cellular towers are down or you already have bad service. So there's a lot of factors that play and a lot of variables in there on communication that, again, I think as we work through this process, we know
I just have it on speed, sorry. It's on speed mode to try to get through Ted Cruz faster.
Everybody has a lot of questions regarding what are the next steps and what's next. And I think all of these things, these are all great questions. And as we continue search and rescue and as we continue to move to the next step, we definitely want to dive in and look at all of those things, from cell service tower to radio communications, or emergency alerting. Any of those things, I think we all really need to take a look at and review. And we're looking forward to doing that once we can get the search and rescue and stuff complete.
In regards to the total number of, before I say anything else, I just want to say thank you to you, to all the first responders, to everyone involved. We've been praying.
Thank you.
We've been praying. The media's been praying. Thank you guys for doing that. I've got two questions. One, for you, trying to get an accurate count on number of missing. I know you can't. I know we don't know we don't know what we don't know.
Yes.
But do we know a rough idea on total estimates that are still missing overall throughout the county? And then one other follow-up. This may be for Senator Cruz. A lot of speculations being made about this being somehow man involved with the weather modification, with some of the rainmaker technology, working with farmland. Do you think any of that, is there going to be any investigations into that, or can you communicate anything on that?
Let me answer your first question. I'm definitely turning that second one over to him. So on the first question with missing persons, so obviously we have the knowns, the Camp Mystic kids, which is the numbers coming down as the sheriff has stated, and then we have the unknowns. But we don't know what we don't know. We actually have a 5 hotline line. It fluctuates between 3 and 5, but we're working on it. We get calls 24 hours, 7 days a week. We haven't hit the weeks yet, but we're still taking in calls. We are collecting all that information. So we don't have a solid number that we're willing to talk about right now. We do know that it is a lot, because we also are getting a lot of fake calls. You're looking. This is a worldwide discussion, and we're dealing with scammers. Victims' families are being reached out to, saying that they have their kids pay me money. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. We're dealing with with mental health issues where people are calling saying they have visions. All of these things we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and we're having to vet this information, and it becomes very taxing on our people. Again, this is an extremely heartbreaking. This is, if not the worst, one of the worst, disasters in this region in a very, very long time, even beyond 1987. And but we're
best guess, like dozens or hundreds, or just to give people an idea.
A lot. So,
Not to get into the weeds on, people are asking lots of questions, and where should we start the investigation?
To the best of my knowledge, there is zero evidence of anything related to anything like weather modification. And look, the internet can be a strange place. People can come up with all sorts of.
It's your people, Ted Cruz. So the question was talking about was the weather. Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's her type of people. And also Ted Cruz. But now Ted Cruz has to play games because he has to. I don't know them. I don't know those people. There you go. Marjorie Taylor Greene is introducing a bill that prohibits the injection, release, or dispersion of chemicals or substances into the atmosphere for the express purpose of altering the weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. It will be a felony offense I've been researching weather modification and working with the Legislative Council for months writing this bill. It will be similar to Florida Senate Bill 56. We must end the dangerous and deadly practice of weather modification and geoengineering because they don't understand cloud seeding. They don't understand that. So that means that they're fixing the weather. The Democrats, they're controlling it and they're sending it to the red states. That's what they're doing. I knew it. There's something weird. It doesn't make sense. You look at all the MAGA influencers on here, and they're all just like, this doesn't make any sense. But then the sense that they'll make of it is that it's the Democrats controlling a weather machine and like being all, and they come up with the craziest conspiracies instead of just, oh, it was a combination of bad weather and worst case scenario weather and a local, state, and federal government that did not have the proper measures in place, and they voted against it and cut things that they shouldn't have. So the combination of bad weather with the combination of the foundation of the response not being good is why we have this shit sandwich right now of the catastrophe in Texas. Not this garbage. There she is though, Marjorie Taylor Greene. So here you go, Ted Cruz. Answer for Marjorie Taylor Greene's weather modifications.
To the best of my knowledge, there is zero evidence of anything related to anything like weather modification. And
they're having a new press conference. Actually, a live one. Anytime I don't have to see Ted Cruz. Are you joking? Damn it! I should have just verified that. Mods or Mod Nikki, can we? Is that a verify? Dad's Gone Live is out there. I don't know. We're watching the one from just a couple hours ago. From Bourne, Texas. You got more ice activity in LA. Okay, let's finish the rest of this. I don't know. Yeah, Mod Nikki will look. We're almost done with this one.
A lot.
A lot. It was a lot.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, that was it then? Oh, that was the end anyways. Okay. Well, if there's another one coming up, then we'll see. But that was it. The weather machines, guys. Dad's Gone Live is out there though. He's out there in the flood. Struggling with the connection probably. I figured that. Connection struggles, but he's out there. I don't know where exactly. 30K feet is not that high. Burmette, Texas. So a lot of the other so between the Texas floods, what is this now? MacArthur Park? What the heck? Okay. Between the floods in Texas, you got the Epstein files aren't happening. That's like the main news between Texas floods and Epstein.
The FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list?
Oof.
That the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Oof.
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said.
So he's getting in a different spot.
In that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars.
Oh, she didn't have her. Oh, she looks a little scared. Nah, she's scared here. Okay, she doesn't seem so confident and yelling at people. That's Fox News now. Yeah, she tried to hit him with that. She tried to hit Peter Ducey with the, oh, well, that's just what your news says. And he's like, well, I got the quote right here. Matter of fact, I got the quote. I'm ready for your shit, Nazi Barbie. Dang, not Fox News. And well, no, the Trump admin lost Fox News once already, but then they were like, oh, well, he's going to be president again, so we have to come back, and now they're probably going to lose him again. Or he's going to lose him again. Dang. No, by the way, that's in case you were wondering, the Epstein files aren't happening. The latest update with that, actually, let me just look that up really quick. We'll probably call it for the Texas flood news for now. The Epstein file stuff. DOJ and the FBI conclude that Jeff Epstein had no client list and actually did die by suicide. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Guys, there's no Epstein list. After all. Oh, boy. Trump's Justice Department and FBI concluded they have no evidence that convicted sex offender and disgraced financier Epstein blackmailed powerful figures, kept a client list, or was murdered. It's so wild. This one honestly might be the straw that will break a lot of camels' backs. Not all of them, because it's a cult, so there'll be people still within it. But this one's like a big deal for a lot of these MAGAs. Was the Epstein list, because they think that it's all a bunch of Democrats on there and that only the Republicans are going to reveal, and they're finally going to have the list of the pedophiles that they've been wanting, because Alex Jones and Bongino and all these other lunatic propagandists tell them that there's a cabal of pedophiles out there. Okay. And while there is, it's just not it's the people that are pushing you in a different direction. All right, they're saying it's those people that are doing it, but it's really the ones that are like pointing the fingers that are doing it, that are actually engaging in the pedophile cabal, and being friends with Jeff Epstein the whole time, and it always was. If you haven't noticed, it was the ones that were so loud about it the whole time. About there's the client list is out there, it's there. Wait till we get the list. Wait till we get the list. And the ones that were doing that are all likely would be on there. Would they be on the list? Because they have their people looking in different areas. If what better than to have if the ones that are looking for a client list of pedophiles, have them look elsewhere, right? Don't look at me. Look at that person and that person and this person and this person, and then I'm gonna give you a whole conspiracy narrative tying them together too, and I'll have you looking. I'll never have you looking at me. I'll have you all so confused. The administration is releasing a video. There's video. Okay. Oh, we got, what is this? Is this literally 10 hours of video? Which one's the enhanced one? Well, they released 10 hours of video. I think someone said that there was time was missing. You can watch the cell. What time? I think what time does it jump? There's like a minute missing in this. People have been finding this. Hold on. Oh, I better. If I'm looking up Epstein video on X, I better pull this away for a second. There could be something crazy. Could be something not friendly for stream. Oh, yeah. Freaking CoffeeZilla found it. 1 minute missing from Epstein security footage. You guys, I'm going to have to go full screen. It's from 892. Oh. Okay, let's try to look at that ourselves then. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so at 8, so at 12 a.m. No, it would be like, it's 9:42 p.m. There we go. Let's see if there's a minute missing. All right, we got all 10 hours here, 10 hours and 52 minutes. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Are we gonna see a minute skip here? I think we're gonna see a minute skip. Oh boy. I want my there you go. Oops. Okay, 11:58. See what happens. This is intense. It's 11:58, 58. We're getting there. Don't worry. We're building. We're aura farming the timer right now. All right, we're getting there. We're building suspense. Oh! Whoa! Hold on. What was that? What the? Whoa! What the heck? How the heck did that happen? What the hell? One more time. Where'd a minute go? What the? One more time. Whoa! Well, that's not very nice. That's not very nice. They give us a copy that is missing a minute. A little over a minute of footage is just cut out. What happened? What the hell happened? Anything move in the area? We gotta pay attention to that. Nothing really moved. I don't like this. I don't trust a single thing that they put out. I don't even trust this video. I don't even trust this, to be honest. But the fact that there's literally a minute just cut out, like what the hell is that? Is this even the same? There's Epstein prison cell per photos from the DOJ. I'm so sick of being dicked around by this administration, dude, and this MAGA, and it's not biased to say you are dicked around if you support Trump in every which way, shape, or form. Is that the same door? Is that the same door? That doesn't look like the same door. So they give you a video that's missing a minute. That's weird. And then the photos of actually right after the but immigrants and trans people scare me. So that's what makes me right wing still, okay? You don't get it. Okay? Trans people are too scary, so that's why I'm still right wing, Andrew. I know, Andrew. I can't explain any of this anymore. I'm tired of it. But like, my bigotry means more to me than facts and evidence. So I have to stay this way. I'm sorry. You should just say that to me from now on. Sorry. Nope. Hold the facts and evidence, please. I would rather just be a bigot. That's what I need to be, because I can't handle, this is ridiculous. And then they had them all out there with the stupid binders, you guys, remember? Had them out there, did a photo op. Hey, you stupid maggots. No. Hey, you stupid Trump. Hey, do you know what the other thing is? If you support Trump, they treat you like you're dumb too. They think you're stupid, okay? They think you're dumb. I call you dumb because you act dumb. But they, like, their own, Trump treats his own base as if he knows you're stupid. And they can do whatever they can, like, they play carnival games with you. So I had to stop like 10 years ago. I had to hop off the ride because I was tired of, I realized, whoa, okay, this is just like a sideshow. This is all just a sideshow for me. I'm not going to be a part of that anymore. And then it's like worse. It somehow got even worse. Had them all out there. Bro, I know when Chaya talks, she just has like spit in her mouth, like in the corner. That's a Libs of TikTok chick. That hair is not real. And then this, look, and they give them hats. Look, that's how they treat you. Like you're a fucking, like you're a kid going to a carnival. Yeah, I know. They want the Epstein files. Yeah, give them a binder of even further redacted information, because the actual Epstein like case is available for you to go and read. That is less redacted than this bullshit that they put out in the stupid binder. And then they said this was just phase 1. Andrew, this is just phase 1. There's just a phase 2, and there's more. Andrew, there's more. There's no more. This was all for a show, and it always is. Everything they do is for show. Everything Republicans do is not real. They do it, and listen, at the end of the day, Republicans and the Democrats have their own issues. That's a whole other thing. Republicans, they want your money. And that's it. Okay. They don't want anything else. They want to be bigoted. Okay. Listen, if you can only be a white male to have some success over there, and then they want your money, and that's it. They don't care about, they're all pedophiles. They don't care about justice for victims for pedophilia from Epstein. They were doing it. Trump was engaging in it. And then when you go and then you drum up a whole base that wants accountability for this, and then you bring their top influencers, all these loser propagandists, and then you give them hats and merch and send them on their merry way. Yeah, go fuck off now. Anyone know there's no Epstein files? But then you keep people on, you keep them believing it, you keep people believing it, and we're just minutes away, we're seconds away from the Epstein files. Here you go. This guy too, who's actually now the assistant FBI director.
Again, right? Not a lot of people are talking about. There is a little current of information I'm getting that the Department of Justice under Pam Bondi may be finally releasing a lot of information.
And that's why they brought him on. And that's honestly why Trump administration brings all of these people in, because they have to put a lid on it. And at some point, it's like this dude, he had, like, Bongino has the best intentions to support Donald Trump with his full throat, all the mucus and everything, and both hands. There's no doubt about it. He is Trump loyalist. Okay. But he steps into territory that would be against Trump, because he's interested in the Epstein files. He's interested in investigations, and it doesn't mean he's like serious. I think he's a grifting clown, but his message and his base are into it, and they want this Epstein files. They want to see these pedophiles. They want accountability. Well, no better than we can't have them just talking. We can't have Dan Bongino out there still having people interested in the Epstein. They bring him in. That's why he's in the government now, because then Bongino can't sit there and talk about Epstein files shit and be like against the government or whatever he pretends to be. Well, and having real listeners that are, While Trump is in office, so you got to bring him in so then he can be a yes man, and then Trump can literally direct the messaging to him and tell him, no, don't say that, you can say this, don't say that, and the Epstein files no longer exist. So while Bongino is a MAGA cuck and propagandist, that's why they brought him into the government, so they can control him even more. So he can't even go against the grain anymore, or even if he wanted to, it's impossible because he's a part of the government now.
This Jeffrey Epstein case, which is a huge deal. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. I'm hoping it does. I've been covering it for a long time. The Jeffrey Epstein case, you do not know all the details of this thing, I promise. There are a lot of really obviously powerful people. This part you know, but the specific names we may not, including, I believe, the Clintons, based on information I discussed yesterday, who are knee-deep and involved
the Clintons
with Jeffrey Epstein, and no one can figure out what the level of entanglement is. Jeffrey Epstein met with Obama's fixer, his lawyer, Catherine Rumler, who was always the one in the middle of these Obama scandals, and we can't figure out what they're hiding. Here's Marsha Blackburn, who has been all over this. She's a senator from Tennessee, Republican, obviously. And she's like, hey, man, is it time now? It's time to start overturning that rock and seeing what's underneath it.
Yeah, where's those pedophiles? Bring them out.
This out.
Yeah.
Repeatedly requested a subpoena for the complete unredacted Epstein flight logs from the FBI. I've also pushed for the. It's like,
and also too at some point, like for like Trump and like the ones that are making the moves happen. It's like on purpose. It's like a false flag story to keep you paying attention to this non-existent fucking pedophile list and have you thinking and have you looking at that instead of what Trump is doing to your Medicare. Hey honey, I lost my medical benefits and my I lost my wages that I was getting. What happened? Trump cut the Medicaid, or the Republicans cut the Medicaid. Didn't know. Was paying attention to the Epstein files on Bongino's show. Yeah, we had a special. They were going to bring on Steven Crowder. You're going to talk about trans people and how trans people are bad. I didn't even know that my benefits are being cut from me.
The release of Ghislaine Maxwell's unredacted little black book of contacts and addresses. The American people have the right to know who flew on his planes, who witnessed the crimes, and who potentially participated.
And yeah, that flight log is already out. It's already redacted. It's on there. And Trump is on there 3 times, I believe. Trump's on there. There already is. It's on you can go look it up yourself, unless they got rid of it. Epstein case. There you go. Jeff Epstein, Department of Justice. It's all in here. Is this just the initial one? Okay. But where's the actual one? Attorney General Pam Bondi, the first. This is on the Department of Justice still. Oh, boy. Oh, no. It would be the Maxwell. It'd be Maxwell's case. Not Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell. Department of Maxwell was previously found guilty. Statement of Damian Williams on the verdict. And all of the flight logs and everything are in Maxwell's case. We reported on it. Mod Nikki did a write-up every day. But because it was Maxwell trial, no one cared, I guess. There, United States versus Maxwell. Where's the argument? Where's the case? Copy of the indictment. It's not it. It's in this. It's in here though. Courts. No. Where is 2022 update? Where's the actual case itself? July 2nd, 2020. Oh, is it because 2020 was psychotic? That's why. There are lots of things happening. So the Maxwell trial was not a big deal for a lot of people because of COVID and lockdowns and BLM protests and right-wing protests like Save Our Children and shit, but yet they didn't care about at Maxwell's trial at all. There were like 3 or 4 MAGA influencers that actually cared about Maxwell's trial. And I think they stopped caring at the time because Trump's name was in there. It was on the flight logs, and it was more than just these Democrats. It was like a big nothing for like big names. So people stopped caring, and then it came back again for propaganda when it was time to. Where are we at with this now? What were we doing now before? There you go.
In his global sex trafficking ring. Yet time and again, in the last Congress, Democrat leadership and then FBI Director Wray stonewalled my request. But now with Republican control of Congress and President Trump back...
It was impossible to stream the Maxwell trial. It was not televised. So they probably talked about it, and they talked about what happened, but there's nothing to stream.
In the Oval Office, we're going to see some real change on this issue. Just last week, the president's excellent pick for FBI Director Kash Patel vowed to work with me in releasing the Epstein records and breaking apart the trafficking rings that harm countless women and children across our country. To be clear, this is not a celebrity issue. This is about ending modern-day slavery and finding out who is participating in these sex trafficking rings.
Big words, and now it's like, what does all that mean? If there is no list, what does all that even mean?
Did you hear the key part of that? The Ghislaine Maxwell Black Book. What names are in there, man? You understand how many power...
Read the case. Anyone have a link to the case? Put it in Discord. Put it in the politics chat. It's in there. We read it. I actually did read it on stream.
Powerful people probably want this.
And the stupid Pam Bondi one has them redacted. Names are redacted, like Trump's name.
Thing to desperately go away. How many people were interconnected with this Epstein sex ring operation? I heard from a reporter once that there were tapes. A very well-respected reporter, many of you know. There are a lot of tapes out there of a lot of people.
Who? What tapes? This is about conservative propaganda is so easy. Just keep people confused, have them hate something, and then keep them on the edge of their seat like they're just moments away from cracking the deep state cabal, and that's where you keep them. And bro, you could make you could make so much money. Truly, if you're ever down bad and you want to know a money glitch, conservative grifting. There you go. Truly, if you're ever down, if you can speak, you have to have speaking ability though. That's the one thing. So if you're afraid of people, you're gonna struggle because you have to speak and put words together. But if you can do that, you can take their whole everything. If you know how, if you just say some bullshit, say some actual just nonsense. Yeah, I don't know that. Nancy Pelosi, I heard that they had a meeting with Gavin Newsom, and they're about to put some extra particles in the sky over Orange County. You know, you got to watch out for that. And I know you guys know there's a journalist out there. You know him. They have some images of Nancy Pelosi and one of her aides that were working together with Gavin Newsom, and I think they have some very, very, very bad plans for Orange County. Here's Alina Habba.
But in this case, in Epstein's case, it is incredibly disturbing. We have flight logs, we have information, names that will come out.
Is it going to be shocking?
I don't see how it's not shocking that there were so many individuals that were hidden and kept secret and not been held accountable. Let's talk about the reverse. I believe in accountability. So you have to now go through your process. Oof. Now, I won't say they're guilty until they go through their time in court. But again, now it's time for accountability. We have seen for so many years, Pierce, in this country, many investigations, subpoenas, testimonies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a general frustration with accountability. We take it halfway. We don't take it home. And I really believe that now with Cash and Pam,
We take it halfway.
there will be accountability.
Oh, will there be? Pam Bondi says Jeff Epstein client list is on my desk right now. It's on her desk, guys. Where is it then? Oh man. So are you just gonna have to chalk that one up as a lie? Like, but that's fine. That's a lie, but it's okay. That's okay. All right. We'll take it. Trump says he will release the Epstein client list if elected. Anytime. Damn, Elon. Damn, Elon. Jesus. Oh, it's time for a Rogan Elon episode. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's Joe Rogan might be getting nervous here. Remember when we learned that our wealthiest and most powerful people were connected to a guy who ran a literal child sex trafficking ring, and then that guy died mysteriously in jail, and now we just don't talk about it? Pepperidge Farm remembers, and so does Elon, apparently. Oof. JD Vance from 2021. Tweets are forever. Okay? Tweets are forever. Don't forget that. You can delete them, but they'll pop back up. I think we can all agree that if Democrats are on the Epstein list, lock them up and throw them away the key. If Republicans are on the Epstein list, lock them up and throw away the key. We demand the justice for the victims. We have to start with the Democrats first, though, for the search engine optimization postings. Oh, boy. Damn, Elon's on a Epstein. Is he going to call Trump a pedophile today again by the end of the day?
You know, it was also widely reported that Bill had a friendship or business or some kind of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, and that you were not, that was very upsetting to you. Did that play a role in the divorce at all in this process?
Yeah, as I said, it's not one thing. It was many things. But I did not like that he'd had meetings with Jeffrey Epstein, no.
Mm-hmm. No, that's it's usually... It should rule it out, not for Trump though, and others around him. Vanity Fair thinks Elon Musk wrote that. Any day now. Bit of a clarification. I don't know. I don't care. Epstein list hangs itself moments before release. Boy. The official Epstein pedophile arrest counter. He's going all in on it. Any day. Zoran the Destroyer sounds... Zoran the Destroyer Rex Dem Party based. Yeah, he's been the coolest thing in the Democratic Party in a long time, I tell you what. All the right people are against him, including a lot of people that I used to follow on social media, and I no longer. But they were attacking Zoran for eating with his hands, bro. I unfollowed like 10 people because he ate food with his hands, as if like Americans don't grab a burger after itching your butt crack, after scratching your butt crack, and then like grabbing shit off the ground and then you'll just eat like a burger or like a sandwich, or like Americans at work with like dirty ass labor hands will eat your lunch and have your food after not washing your hands, but you've been at work all day. I don't want to hear it, dude. It's been like the worst. That's awesome. So he's got people worried, all the right people worried, I think. Literally, like it's been the dumbest critiques of Zoran. And none of them are like valid. All right, guys. I got softball tonight. I'm not going to hold you any longer for today. Good being back. I'm also happy to see so many of you guys were waiting for me, dude. We had like maybe 300-400 viewers before June happened, and now we're rocking between 600 to 700, just kind of hanging out. Not like the biggest breaking news right now, but some days are like that. you just kind of review some stuff that's going on, making sure you guys are all caught up and up to date with what's going on. Some days there will be breaking news where we're tuned in for hours and hours and hours and hours, right? And then some days we're just kind of hanging out for a couple hours, okay? That's going to be today. So Monday through Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, okay? Unless there's breaking news and I got to go live earlier, a little earlier in the day, which is fine. I could have went live with this news a little earlier, but I want to make sure we're on our right around our 3 p.m. Eastern time, stream time, which has been awesome. So guys, back again tomorrow. Vacation is done, so I'm not taking any time off for the foreseeable future, maybe around my birthday. I don't know. If I do, it'll be something you guys can come with and we'll do it together. But I've already taken enough time, I think, away. But we got gaming this week. We got gaming streams. We got news streams. All the streams have returned. I got softball tonight. If you guys want to watch my softball games, I'm going to be on my gaming channel for a little while here, just kind of hanging out before softball. But if you guys want to watch later on, before tomorrow's news update, Renegades Softball on YouTube, right here. Renegades Softball on the YouTube channel, and I gotta adjust that thumbnail. But yeah, we're live every Monday night. I think we'll have like another couple weeks because we have rain delays. But Renegades Softball, and then my gaming channel, come check it out. Mercado Gaming. We passed 10,000 subscribers. Thank you to everybody for all of the support there. But we're gonna go over there and hang out for an hour or so before I got to go to softball. We'll be back here. Thank you to everybody for contributing to the Buy Me a Coffee, supporting Mercado Media. As time has gone on, a lot more IRL coverage too, on the ground streams, giving you guys what's happening out there. Appreciate everybody for supporting that. And you guys have a good rest of your Monday. Thank you to all the members. Thank you to the supporters. Thank you to the star senders. Thank you to the Twitch sub prime members. Everybody over on the Twitch. Everybody around and around. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.